Hey folks, how's everybody doing? Hope y'all having a wonderful day wherever you're at on this beautiful planet we call the Earth. First things first, I gotta crack open a cold beer. Right there on my desk, I got a bottle opener. Best place for it, right? My desk is a wood table I used to use for barbecue operations, but now it's my desk. I want to talk about a subject that is so blatantly obvious, but it just boggles the mind that everybody thinks this is still a mystery. This is my opinion, so if you have a dissenting opinion, please leave your opinion, your facts, your comments down in the comment section below. Nordstream 2, well, I don't say Nordstream 2. The Nordstream pipelines that got blown up last year. Who did it? Folks, right when that shit happened, immediately, I knew exactly who did it. There's no question. The United States government did that shit. My own government. I want to speak clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. My own government. I didn't make up those words. Somebody else said those words back in the 60s. It just boggles the mind that what's going on in the United States today. I'm glad that I'm not there to see the debacle that's going on there. I don't understand a lot of the chaos that's going on there. I wasn't there for all these fucking movements, these, putting ladyboys on my fucking beer can, for what purpose? All this shit, hashtag me too, all this bullshit. I haven't been there for that. And let's just come up with a quick news flash. The rest of the world don't subscribe to all that bullshit. All this bullshit that's going on in America, that's America. The rest of the world don't give a fuck about transgender, LQ, A, B, C, D. They don't give a fuck. The rest of the world just gets along and we live our lives, and we pretty much, for the most part, just treat others the way we want to be treated. We don't have these fucking discussions about racism and whose fucking life matters and whose don't. And, hashtag me too, I want some money. Whatever the fuck is going on there. The rest of the world is not affected. But we're raised in America to think that what happens in America is the only thing going on in the world. That's how we're raised. It's a very elitist and imperialistic way of thinking. But that's how we're raised in America, right? And when you leave there, you learn more about America than when you're living in America. And so, with all that said, it's quite obvious, it was quite obvious from the day that these pipelines got blown up who did it. The fucking geniuses up there in the United States government. That's who fucking did it. Fucking geniuses. No, you can't say Biden did it. This wasn't his fucking idea. Why? Because he's an old man and he's an Alzheimer's patient that's being led around like in the movie Weekend at Bernie's, being propped up and just forced to stand in front of these cameras and embarrass himself. But with that said, obviously they're putting him through the motions, and he's privy to these conversations that these idiots up there, his handlers, are doing. And an Alzheimer's patient is not clear on what he can say and what he cannot say. And he tells you in this video here, now he's not reading off a fucking script when he says this. He tells you clearly, way before these pipelines were blown up, a little bit before the Russians entered the Ukraine, If you listen to the Western media, they call it an invasion. What's the difference between invasion and liberation? It's just from what perspective you look at it from. Oh shit, am I starting to cut some of y'all deep? Alright, let me fucking piss you off anymore. Our beloved country, the United States of America, was founded by insurgents. What? What'd he say? They were founded by terrorists? No, I said insurgents. An insurgent, by definition, is one who rebels against authority. And our forefathers rebelled against the authority that ruled over the colonies then. Our country, the United States of America, from England's point of view, was founded by traitors and insurgents. Just so happens we won the Revolutionary War and now we are a new country. Had we lost, everybody that revolted would have been probably hanged, and that would have been the end of the insurgency. Fortunately, our forefathers won, became the greatest country on earth until modern times. Now it's beginning to crumble like ancient Rome. Okay. Damn. I can't tell a direct, short story. If that's what you're looking for, you're in the wrong place, the wrong conversation, listening to the wrong dude. So anyhow, watch this video here if you want to know who blew up the pipelines in September, what was it, September, right, 2022. You just have to go back to February 7th, 2022, and the President of the United States, even though he's an Alzheimer's patient, is going to tell you exactly who blew up those pipelines, who's going to blow up those pipelines, okay? He's issuing a warning, a threat, an ultimatum. He's telling you right here. Without further ado, let's play this clip. Here we go.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nordstream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Thank you very much for your question. I want to be absolutely clear. We have intensively prepared everything.
Those folks at the end were like, holy shit, did that dude just say that? That's what he said. Now, throughout this video, if you have any doubts, I'm going to keep playing. I'll play that over and over again until you realize, yeah, the U.S. is the one who blew up those pipelines. And in my opinion, in my mind, that was a red line that was crossed. That was a red line that was crossed to where now there are no more red lines. If Russia was to drop a tactical nuke right in the middle of Kiev, what's the difference? It feels like we're already entering into World War III. But it was like all fun and games. Everything was cool right up until they took out those pipelines. Now there are no rules. There are no gentlemen agreements, gentlemen rules. It's the fucking true wild, wild west now. What's next? You just took out these pipelines. So that's it. That's a red line for me. It was crossed by Joe Biden's handlers. Not Joe Biden. You can't blame him. He's an Alzheimer's patient. But if you'll notice, when he reads the teleprompter, he's reading scripts. He went off the cuff right there when he told you that. He wasn't supposed to say that, I don't think. Maybe he was, but nah. People are like, holy shit, did that dude really say that? What are we going to do? Just ignore it like it didn't happen. Alright, so fast forward 2022. And folks, I'm not favoring any news source. My personal opinion of all the news sources in the West, mainstream media, They are nothing but, the word would be, propaganda machines for the United States government and their personal fucking agendas. Either they're Republican, they're Democrat. All you have to do is read the titles of the stories. It's the same story, but the title sets the tone and tells you what their agenda is. I don't watch the news. I search various news websites. I read the titles of the articles, and then I'll select a few to read, and then I'll jump to another news source and look at their titles. I don't sit there and listen to a talking head for 4 hours a day, regurgitate what I can learn in about 3 minutes. And I wouldn't watch Fox News because I know what their agenda is. I'm not judging. I don't watch CNN because I know what their agenda is. I know exactly what they're trying to program this brain. It's called programming, right? A program. Let's watch a program. It's programming. I already know what they're trying to do. Go to USA Today. Holy shit. That's like the victimhood. I'm a victim central. I'm a victim. Pay me reparations. I got my feelings hurt. I already know about USA Today. I go to USA Today because it gives me a good laugh about how fucking weak people in the United States have become. It's a nation of pussies, just like Kid Rock said. So, anyhow, this news source here, shit, I don't know. Oh, it's Al Jazeera. Russian forces launch full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and Putin calls it a special military operation, and everybody else is going to call it an invasion. Well, what do you call the invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Vietnam, the invasion of Afghanistan from the Russians or the Americans, right? Operation Just Cause. Operation Restore. It's from what perspective you look at it from, right? So the media, the Western media, is calling it an invasion. The Russians are our enemy. The same thing they've been telling me since I was a child, doing nuclear war drills, getting underneath my desk, put your head down between your knees. For what purpose? Just kiss your ass goodbye. But we still did it. So the Western media, the U.S. government wants you to think Russia's enemy, Ukraine is freedom fighters. Well, when Russia invaded Afghanistan, the Mujahideen were the freedom fighters. And then when we go there, well, the United States goes there, now they're insurgents. It's from what perspective, whose footsteps, whose shoes are you looking at the situation from? And that will be the terminology. But you're programming the West to believe what the media, which is propaganda machine for the United States government, tells you. They tell you who your enemy is through various media. You don't believe me? Okay, back in the 80s, greatest movie in the world, Red Dawn. Who was the enemy? Russians and Cubans. They were programming me. They were programming me not only through the nightly news, but through movies, through Hollywood. The Pentagon has a huge influence on movies and television shows. You either go with their agenda or they don't cooperate. You know what I mean? You can't film any tanks and airplanes and helicopters if you don't do what the nice people in the Pentagon tells you. Fast forward to the remake of Red Dawn. Who was the enemy? Anyone? 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 Current times? Was it North Korea? Now you're supposed to hate the North Koreans. Fuck, back in the 80s it was the Cubans and the Russians. God damn, make up your mind who I'm supposed to, liberate myself from. See how that works? Okay, moving right along. Anyhow, so Russia goes into the Ukraine. Why? Because NATO is getting too close to their borders. and they're going to ensure that the Ukraine is not going to become part of NATO, which allows the U.S. to move weapons in there. Let's call it like it is. You got too close, and at some point you got to hit them back. They don't want to take over that place. They just want to turn it into a no man's land. Russia would be fine if that entire country was nothing but a minefield. Why? Because it's unusable. Now there's a buffer zone between nuclear warheads, NATO, and the Russian border. Okay, so anyhow, not to get into that. Let's move right along here. What else I got here? We're trying to talk about the pipelines. All right, just bear with me because I try to put this. All right, what are these pipelines, folks? They run from Russia to Germany, right? There's Nordstream 1, there's Nordstream 2. I think there's 2 pipelines on each for a total of 4. Obviously, you may know more than I do about the specifics of the pipelines. But that's where they run, right down through that route. That also shows you where the Norwegian naval and air bases are. And I think I got that. Okay, so what happened? I don't even know where I got this from, but September 26, 2022, boom, kaboom, kaboom. They're saying that the explosions measured 2.3, 2.1 on the Richter scale, likely corresponded to an explosive load of several hundred kilos. I guess that would be TNT. Anyhow, boom. So the pipelines show a drop in pressure, and I guess they were pressurized with methane. So what you're seeing right there is a methane bubbling up from the bottom of the ocean there from the pipeline. And if a boat would try to go over that, I think the boat would actually sink through those methane bubbles. I think that's how it works. One of the theories of the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, let's fast forward. September 30th, 2022. The same guy who issued the warning. And it didn't look like he was reading the teleprompter or reading notes when he said that. He went off the cuff, probably off script. Here we go, September 30th, 2022.
America is fully prepared with our NATO allies to defend every single inch of NATO territory. Every single inch. So, Mr. Putin, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You also asked me earlier about the pipeline, and let me say this.
He says, let me say this. Look straight down at his notes because he don't know what to say. Okay, this gentleman here has Alzheimer's. My heart goes out to him just as an old man who should be in his rocking chair enjoying his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and not in front of the cameras on a world stage being propped up like it's weekend at Bernie's. So I'm not mad at him, because if you're mad at him, that's basically saying that you're mad at a gentleman in his senior year suffering from a debilitating condition called Alzheimer's. How can you get mad at somebody who has some type of mental disability? You can't do it. I'm not mad at him. Look, he don't know what the hell to say. He looks down. They're telling him exactly what to say. His handlers, all these idiots up there that's running the show, that are basically just connected to the military-industrial congressional complex. That's who's running the show up there right now. You got some puppets in there, and the folks over in the defense industry are telling them exactly what to do, exactly what moves to make.
It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies. We're going to work with our allies to get to the bottom of precisely what happened. And
okay, reading word for word what he's supposed to say by the handlers.
In my direction, I've already begun to help our allies enhance the protection of this critical infrastructure. And at the appropriate moment, when things calm down, we're going to be sending divers down to find out exactly what happened. We don't know that yet.
When he looks up, now he goes off script again. He goes off the hip and starts talking about sending divers down. Specifics. We're going to start sending divers down to see what happens. Everybody in the room's like fucking cringing. That's not part of the notes.
Exactly, but we're not, just don't listen to what Putin's saying. What he's saying we know is not true.
How do you know a politician's lying? Well, their fucking lips are moving, right? Everybody knows this. But he's on script when he's reading. The minute he gets away from what he's supposed to read, he just goes off the cuff and starts giving away secrets. Germany and Norway will build a big hydrogen pipeline. This is January of 2023, after the incident in September. Well, guess what? You know, if you land the ships on a new land and you burn the ships, well, there's no turning back, right? You have to go in a certain direction. Well, all these business dealings behind closed doors, that's, you know, some decisions may be uncertain. Well, when you blow up the pipelines, you just made it real easy for people to make decisions, because you closed that door on the Russian option for energy. So here you go, January. They're going to build a big hydrogen pipeline. Don't know nothing about it. I'm just putting little pieces, little obvious pieces of the puzzle together. Okay, Germany just took a step closer to finding a long-term, greener replacement for Russian natural gas and coal. Greener, you could have left that shit out. That's just a bullshit marketing term, okay? But they're programming you. They want you to be on their side and their agenda. Okay, so Norwegian state-owned energy firm Equinor on Thursday announced plans to build hydrogen fuel power plants in Germany, as well as a major pipeline between the two countries to feed them. How convenient. How convenient. Okay, let's see. The agreement, which is not legally binding, is part of Germany's efforts to phase out all coal-fired power stations by 2030 and decarbonize its energy sector. Berlin has pivoted dramatically away from Russia as a source of energy since its invasion of Ukraine and needs to find secure alternative suppliers. I wouldn't say they dramatically shifted away. I think they were, why the fuck would you want to cut your own throat? They didn't want to cut their own throat. They've got Nordstream 1, you got Nordstream 2 about to come online. It's going to drive their energy prices down, which means they can, you know, the manufacturing sector is going to be able to produce more, cheaper. Their bottom line would be going up. Why would you cut your own throat? Because the U.S. is putting pressure on you. But you know what? If you blow up the pipelines, now Germany doesn't have a dilemma. There's no more dilemma. It's done. There's no more fucking dilemma. You're going to pivot dramatically away. No, motherfucker. You're going to go wherever you can get energy. Wherever you can get natural gas. Whatever you need. And now, those pipelines are no longer an option. Let's see. We will strengthen the long-term energy. Let's see. The power plants jointly owned by RWE and Equinor will initially run on natural gas produced in Norway. Who's the winners? When somebody does something, there's a motive, right? Has to be a motive. Has to be a motive. Somebody has to benefit. Most of the time it's about money. Sometimes it's about jealousy, power, payback, revenge, what have you. But most of the time it's about money. Money, 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 money. Who benefits financially from these pipelines being taken out? And I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't fucking Russia. It ain't Russia. This horse shit of pointing fingers at Russia was so fucking comical. They spent billions on these fucking pipelines, and if they're online, they're putting billions of dollars in their pocket. They're not going to cut their own throat. It don't work like that. It's all about who's going to benefit. Money. Let me just say simple: money, 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 money. Follow the fucking money. Russia didn't have shit to do with that. Alright? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Nobody has a fucking ideology that strong to invest billions in this fucking pipeline that you're gonna get billions back and say, oh, let's blow this shit up to prove a point. Don't work like that. Okay? Especially outside the West. It don't work like that. It's about money. Putting money in my pocket. That's how you know Russia didn't have shit to do with this, alright? That's insanity. Okay, they'll initially run on natural gas produced in Norway before transitioning to blue hydrogen, also produced in Norway using natural gas and pumped through the underwater pipeline.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nordstream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
Norway, now Germany's largest gas supplier. Norway, now Germany's largest gas supplier. Future supply from Arctic to support exports. Gotta follow the money. Who benefits from these pipelines getting taken out? Is it Russia? I don't think so. This article is January 11th, 2023. And I'm sorry, I'm having to look around my camera here. Norway supplied 33% of Germany's gas needs in 2022, making it the country's largest supplier, well ahead of Russia. Let's see. Norway's position as a key provider of energy to Germany is set to further increase in the years to come, including from new Arctic fields coming online and new discoveries above the Arctic Circle. So wouldn't you say it's in Norway's best financial interest that those Russian pipelines go away? They just eliminated the competition. They just took out the competition. Now you Germany, guess what? Now you have to go to Norway to get natural gas. Right? They're just it's just a gangster fucking move over money. Because there's nobody in the White House at the wheel. Nobody's driving the fucking bus, the boat, the aircraft. You got a bunch of people up in there making decisions based on nothing but money. Money runs everything, but right now, my God, taking out those pipelines, that was a red line. That was a red line that you fools up there ought to have your ass removed for doing. That goes down as the dumbest motherfucking move. Because now there's no more rules. Any fucking human decency, rules of humanity went out the fucking window on your little cockamamie little plan to blow up these pipelines. Everything speaks for itself. I'm not pulling this shit out of my ass and just running my mouth. Just look at the numbers. Look at who stands to benefit from this and who run their mouth and told you they're going to do it. So obviously the US did it, and they're obviously being supported by Norway because Norway, why? They stand to fucking benefit big money. Money, 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 money. Money. Arctic ERPA field to come online in 2026. okay, will play a key role in supply reliability and boosting exports to Europe. My goodness. My goodness. Is it not? It's so fucking crystal clear. But how much are they going to get if they have to compete with cheap ass natural gas coming in from Russia? They got to lower their price. How can we charge as much as we want to? Become the sole or the main supplier. How do we do that? Take out the fucking Nordstream. So they're on board. You see why Norway would be on board? Let's fast forward to this gentleman here, Seymour Hersh. Writes an article called How America Took Out the Nord Stream Pipeline. The New York Times called it a mystery, but the U.S. executed a covert sea operation that was kept secret until now. God damn, I'm trying to look it over my camera. February 8, 2023. He published this basically on his own website. Why? Because nobody in the Western media is going to take this story and run with it. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. The U.S. government is not going to allow that. They're not going to allow them to run with that story. Because it doesn't follow their agenda and their fucking narrative. Who's Seymour Hersh? This dude's an investigative journalist. He's been reporting on the government. He broke the My Lai massacre story in Vietnam, where basically Lieutenant Cowley and his platoon slaughtered 504 Vietnamese civilians. This is a guy who broke the story, right? It's not like some quack with a tinfoil hat on writing from his basement. This dude is 80-something years old. He's been reporting on the fucked upness of the United States government his entire career. He's got contacts, friends, buddies that go back decades. He's in the know. Alright? He's not some fucking idiot who's gonna pull a story out of his asshole and write it and hope that it flies. Who would I believe? Seymour Hersh or any U.S. senator, any U.S. politician, the President of the United States, or would I believe Seymour Hersh? I believe that dude right there. Let's just get to the whole damn article. Let's get to the whole article here. I told y'all, I can't tell a quick story, and if that's what you're looking for, we'll pick another video. You know, 2 clicks and you're out of here, and you're on another video. Maybe you're happy then. So I just go through the whole damn article. I might read it word for word. Alright, or I could summarize it. He starts out by talking about the U.S. Navy's Diving and Salvage Center in Panama City down in Florida, right? And they're deep water divers, you know, trained in using C4 to either blow up mines, oil rigs, you know, to blow shit up underneath the water at depth. So what he's saying is that last June, the Navy divers operating under the cover of a widely publicized midsummer NATO exercise known as Baltops 22. They planted the remotely triggered explosives that 3 months later destroyed 3 of the 4 pipelines. Okay, so the 2 of the pipelines, which were known as Nordstream 1, had been providing Germany and Western Europe with cheap Russian gas for more than a decade. The second pair, called Nord Stream 2, had been built but were not operational. Okay? So Russian troops were massing on the Ukrainian border. President Biden saw the pipelines as a vehicle for Vladimir Putin to weaponize natural gas for his political and territorial ambitions. Well, in a way, I mean, that is true. I mean, if you're supplying Germany with natural gas, obviously you have some influence over the courses of action that they're going to take. So anyhow, ask for comment. Let's see. White House spokesperson says, all right, this claim is completely and utterly false. Tammy Thorpe, a spokesperson for the Central Intelligence Agency. This claim is completely and yeah, like the fucking CIA has the ability to tell the fucking truth. That was a waste of a phone call to see what they had to say, right? Okay, these divers were Navy only. They weren't members of Special Ops, where their operations must be reported to Congress. Okay, so this National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, and Victoria Nuland, Under Secretary of State for Policy, they've been vocal and consistent in their hostility to the two pipelines. So they were already laying the propaganda, oh, these pipelines are bad pipelines. They run about 750 miles from Russia to Germany. The direct route, which bypassed any need to transit Ukraine like the other pipelines do, have been a boom for the German economy. They enjoyed cheap Russian natural gas, enough to run factories and heat homes, while enabling German distributors to sell the gas at a profit. It's all good for Russia and Germany and for Western Europe. From its early days, Nordstream 1 was seen by Washington and anti-Russian partners as a problem. Let's see. Talks about Gazprom owns the pipelines. And they're saying the profits were shared with the Russian government. Well, guess what? Any fucking corporation anywhere in the world is going to share their profits with their government. I think they call it taxes. Okay, so anyhow, America's fears are real. Putin would have a much needed major source of income. Germany and Western Europe would become addicted to low-cost natural gas supplied by Russia, while diminishing the reliance on America. Hey, what about me? What about us? What about me? Don't you? What about us? Oh no, we got this pipeline over here. We got cheap gas. Don't worry about it. What about us? What about me? Okay, so it would, if the Nord Stream 2 was completed, it would double it and provide more gas for 50% of Germany's annual consumption. The U.S. don't like that, right? So here we go. Let's see. Opposition to Nord Stream 2 on the eve of the Biden inauguration in January 2021, led by Ted Cruz of Texas, repeatedly raised the political threat of cheap Russian natural gas during the confirmation hearing. By then, a unified Senate had successfully passed a law that, as Cruz told Blinken, it halted the pipeline in its tracks. The planning began in December of 2021. And let's see, in a secure room on the top floor of the old executive office building next to the White House. There's some of your players. Victoria Nuland, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan. They debated options, right? It has to be covert because, yeah, it's a fucking act of war, you idiots. Fucking idiots. I can't believe they pulled this shit. Alright, so anyhow, it goes along there, you know, these fucking White House plumbers up there trying to play Jason Bourne and planning this to blow up the fucking pipelines. And blah, 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 blah. Still scheming. Some working guys in the CIA and the State Department were saying, don't do this. It's stupid and will be a political nightmare if it comes out. You know, shout out to y'all who voiced your opinion, but you didn't voice it loud enough. And just remember that there comes a time when silence is betrayal. This is something that more people should have stood up and said, we're not fucking doing this. You should have evaluated it and said, there's educated fools at the top telling us to do this, but this is blatantly fucking stupid. I got it. It's scary to go against the grain and try to change the river. You're going to lose your job, your retirement, your security clearance. I got it. So at least he's saying, you know, there were a lot of people saying this is stupid. Don't do it. Early 2022, okay, we got a way to blow up the pipelines. We figured it out. And then we talked about, well, we saw the video where Biden blatantly said, if Russia invades, there will no longer be a Nord Stream 2. Also, Undersecretary Nuland had said the same thing. I want to be very clear to you today. If Russia invades Ukraine one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward. They're fucking telling you. They're telling you that they're planning this, that they're going to do it. They're that fucking stupid. Folks, the stupidity of those in the United States federal government is fucking uncanny. It's just, it's mind-boggling. Fucking mind-boggling that these individuals are in charge of a country. Absolutely fucking mind-boggling. It was like putting an atomic bomb on the ground in Tokyo and telling the Japanese we were going to detonate it. The plan was for the options to be executed post-invasion and not advertised publicly. Biden simply didn't get it or ignored it. The man's got Alzheimer's. Okay? The man's got Alzheimer's. He's not the person to keep secrets. Alright? Senior officials of the CIA determined that blowing up the pipeline no longer could be considered a covert option because the president just announced that we knew how to do it. Anyhow, worked out. No longer a legal requirement to report it to Congress. The Norwegian Navy was quick to find the right spot in the shallow water a few miles off that island, right? And Norway was the perfect place to base the mission. They're fucking all for it because it's all about money. Hell yeah, Americans gonna take this shit out. Please do, because it means money in our pocket. U.S. military has vastly expanded its presence inside Norway, created high-paying jobs and contracts amid some local controversy, investing hundreds of millions of dollars to upgrade and expand American Navy and Air Force facilities in Norway. That's what we do. You just go around throwing money around. You know, I think every other country in America, outside America, the national, like the federal government sport in those countries is ripping off the Americans. Yeah, come over here. Fucking, we'll let you build this. In 10 years, we get it all for free, right? Fucking, oh shit. You wonder why the U.S. is over with. Go spend hundreds of millions with a fucking lease and then we have to give it back. The minute we gave that shit back to the Iraqis, they fucking stole everything. Stripped the fucking copper. Stole the goddamn air conditioners, the lights, the light fixtures, the fucking tin off the goddamn roof. Took the damn fucking HESCO barriers, took the fucking wire off, and now that was a goat pen back at their house. Your tax money. So many motherfuckers in Iraq got a great goat pen right now off of those. Oh my God. Okay, so in March, Team team of divers flew to Norway looking for the best place to plant these explosives. Keep going on here. So they picked these waters off of Bornholm because there was no major tidal currents. Another concern, any unusual underwater activity might draw the attention of the Swedish or Danish navies, which could report it. So Norway says, we got to brief Denmark and Sweden about diving activity in that area. But it's looking like now you got the U.S. The U.S. is driving this, right? They're the ones who cooked up this little scheme. Norway's on board because they're going to benefit from it monetarily. And then you get some, maybe their assistance wasn't so important as Norway's, but you got Denmark and Sweden basically looking the other way, providing a little bit of assistance, right? That's what it looks like. So then they say, oh, wait a minute. If we detonate this right after these exercises, it's going to be obvious. So can you guys come up with a way to blow up the pipelines later on command if we want to? So it took them a while, but hey, if you throw enough money at any problem, you can figure it out, right? Somebody figured out how to do it. Yeah, we're going to plant the charges on the pipelines, and then later on we can drop a sonar buoy to remotely detonate them things, right? So it'd be dropped by a plane on short notice. Involved the most advanced signal processing technology. And there was a concern, obviously, that maybe a stray signal or some type of other signal would set these things off inadvertently. And so let's see. The longer the explosives are in the water, the greater risk there would be of a random signal that would launch the bombs. This says on September 26, a Norwegian Navy P-8 surveillance plane made a routine flight, dropped the sonar buoy. Signal spread underwater, initially to Nordstream 2 and then on to Nordstream 1. A few hours later, the high-powered C4 explosives were triggered and 3 of the 4 pipelines were put out of commission. Within a few minutes, pools of methane gas that remained in the shuttered pipelines could be seen spreading on the water surface. And everybody learned something went down, right? American media treats it like an unsolved mystery. But again, who's controlling the U.S. media? It's pretty easy, right? The U.S. government's controlling what the media can and cannot put out. So it's an unsolved fucking mystery. No major American newspaper dug into the earlier threats to the pipelines made by Biden or Newland. And then Blinken says it's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy and thus to take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs. The greatest imperial entity on earth calling Vladimir Putin an imperialist. See the irony in that. Blinken described the moment. It's a tremendous opportunity to once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy. He's basically telling you what we did, what they did, the educated fools. Testifying at a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing in late January, she told Senator Ted Cruz, like you, I am, and I think the administration is, very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea. The source had a much more streetwise view of Biden's decision. Well, he said, I gotta admit the guy has a pair of balls. He said he was going going to do it, and he did. No, his fucking handlers did it. Okay? The Alzheimer's patient has no fucking clue as what's going on. You go down here, there's a couple more articles that's been pushed out. We'll go over those real quick. They're quick articles. But anyhow, Seymour Hersh spells it out in detail. This dude's been doing this for fucking decades. And nobody likes what he has to say. But you know what? They didn't like what he had to say back when he, released the details of the My Lai massacre. What Seymour says: I'm an old hand at dropping bombshell stories that are based on the disclosure of sources I do not and cannot name. There's a pattern to the response by the mainstream media, controlled by the U.S. government. It dates back to my breakthrough story, the My Lai massacre revelation. That story was published in 5 installments over 5 weeks in 1969 by the underground media group Dispatch News. I had tried to get the 2 most important magazines in America, Life and Look, to publish the story with no success. Editors at both publications had earlier invited me to do some freelance writing for them, but they wanted nothing to do with a story about a massacre committed by American soldiers. It's the same way the Western media wants nothing to do with a story of how fucked up leaders at the top of the U.S. federal government are, that they would blow up fucking natural gas pipelines, feeding one of our main allies, Germany. It wasn't like this was fucking World War II and Germany was feeding Italy, or Japan was feeding Germany. No, the Russians were feeding Germany natural gas. Neither one of those entities are my enemy. I don't know what you want to believe, but Russia is not my enemy. Germany's certainly not my enemy. Talks about Lieutenant Calley, the failure of any magazine, in any media back then that wanted to cover the My Lai massacre. Obviously didn't want to cover that shit. And this talks about the cover-up, March 22nd. And take a look right here. Let's stop and look at this picture. Now this is President Biden meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in the Oval Office, March 3rd, 2023. Look at the on this guy's face. Try to get the right analogy, and it almost brings back the movie The Sum of All Fears. It's like this guy, he's looking at him like, you know what, motherfucker, I have to do business with you, but I know you fucked my wife in the ass 2 nights ago in the hotel room. He's in a rock and a hard spot. He knows exactly what happened. He knows it's fucked up. He knows it's going to affect his people. But in the same sense, he can't go against the U.S. government. You got to do business with them. But look at that look on his face right there. He's like, you motherfucker. Alright, so let's see. New $11 billion pipeline. So yeah, they do a smear campaign. Folks, listen, the U.S. government, when you put a story out, it can be 100% true. The more true it is, the more they're just going to attack the messenger. They're not going to attack the facts or the story. They're going to attack you, the messenger. I mean, look at Julian Assange, WikiLeaks. Perfect fucking example, right? This guy didn't leak all the stuff that they got. He was just publishing it like a news organization should. What do? Jump on that rape story. Next thing you know, demonize the dude. That's how they attack you. They're not attacking the facts. The facts are out there and they're fucked up. They're going to attack and destroy the messenger. That's what they did with Assange. That's how they demonized Edward Snowden. Because they have to take your mind off of the fucking facts. So it'll distract you by destroying the fucking messenger, right? So anyhow, they try to destroy this guy. He's 80-something years old. He don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? He don't give a rat's ass. You can't rattle this dude. This dude survived back in '69 when he talked about the My Lai massacre. My God, you think he gives a fuck about what's going on today? He don't give a rat's ass. Say what you want. German gas imports peaked a month after the explosions at 10 times pre-crisis level.
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
Go forward here. Here we go. So nobody's talking about anything, right? Until old Seymour Hersh puts out his story detailing exactly how it went down. So they got to come out with some bullshit to muddy up the fucking waters, right? Because it's hard to heat up a guy like Seymour Hersh. 80-something years old, been doing this for decades. I think he won what did he win? The Pulitzer Prize? So it's hard to discredit this motherfucking messenger, right? Me or you, they just jump on us. Oh, this dude 4 years ago was picking his nose, and they fucking post that shit, you know, get your mind off the facts or some shit. Intelligence suggests pro-Ukrainian group sabotage pipelines, U.S. officials say. New intelligence reporting amounts to the first significant known lead about who is responsible for the attack on the Nordstream pipelines that carried natural gas from Russia to Europe. This is the New York Times, March 7, 2023. A pro-Ukrainian group. God damn, how much more general can you be when Seymour Hersh just fucking was very specific in his reporting and left out all the good parts? Why? Because he's a responsible fucking patriot. Pro-Ukrainian group. New York Times. Holy shit. What fucking wonderful reporting. But all they're doing is just publishing what the U.S. government is putting out there, right?
I promise you we'll be able to do it.
Okay, so this is only a 4-minute, 24-second video. Let's go ahead and watch the whole thing, all right?
These bubbles in the Baltic Sea flared up after explosions on the Nord Stream gas pipelines in September 2022. The incident prompted several international investigations. Western officials initially accused Russia of sabotage, but Moscow denied this. Now, more details of the probes are starting to emerge.
The German prosecutor announced that they had searched a rental yacht that was possibly linked to the attack on the pipelines.
They also said a pro-Ukrainian group may have been responsible, but Ukrainian officials denied any involvement. So here's what we know so far about the explosions that hit some of Europe's most important pipelines. The Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines were built to transfer gas from Russia to Europe. But Russian gas giant Gazprom stopped deliveries through Nord Stream in August 2022, saying the pipes needed repairs. Nord Stream 2 was built but wasn't up and running yet because Germany stopped its certification just before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Then, in September 2022, the pipelines were damaged in explosions. Germany, Sweden, and Denmark, the three countries closest to the incident, launched separate investigations into the cause. Early findings said the blasts were deliberate and caused leaks in 4 places. And the investigations looked at the possibility of Russia as the instigator. Moscow has repeatedly denied any involvement. In early March, German prosecutors said that 2 months earlier, investigators searched a yacht and found traces of explosives on board.
We managed to locate it in the north of Germany. It's a very beautiful, white, sleek leisure boat that has 5 cabins and can comfortably sleep 11 people.
Investigators believe the vessel set sail from a port in northern Germany on September 6.
Around September the 7th, it made a pit stop in Wiek on the island of Rügen, also in northern Germany. There, I think part of the crew came on board and they loaded the boat with food and other provisions. And then from then, there's a bit of a gap, and then the boat re-emerges on the 16th of September on the Danish island of Christiansø, which is close to the area where the Nordstream pipelines were attacked.
German officials said a group of people rented the boat. Some of them presented Ukrainian passports that may have been forged.
Und wir müssen ja deutlich unterscheiden, ob es eine ukrainische Gruppe war, also im ukrainischen Auftrag gewesen sein könnte, oder eine pro-ukrainische ohne Wissen der Regierung.
What we don't know, however, is who these people were, what is exactly their relationship to Ukraine, if they were Ukrainians, and whether or not they had any relationship to the Ukrainian government or any kind of formal authority.
Ukrainian officials denied any involvement.
That's totally against our own interest.
Russia's president had accused what he called Anglo-Saxon powers of blowing up the pipelines. And the Kremlin said Western nations rejected its request to join their investigations.
One thing that we know for a fact that these investigators do not believe anymore that Russia was behind this.
German investigators are also looking at whether the boat was part of a larger mission or a false flag operation designed to divert attention from the real culprits.
We'll see where this leads, but at the present time, it doesn't seem we have more clarity. It seems we have even more layers of obscurity and mystery adding to this kind of huge puzzle.
The leaks highlighted concerns about the safety of critical energy infrastructure in Europe.
It demonstrates the importance of protecting our critical undersea infrastructure.
As for the damaged pipes, there's no indication that they'll be repaired anytime soon.
I promise you we'll be able to do that.
Alright folks, so let's continue on. Yeah, it's taken me a couple days to put this video together. But I think this is the other point of this video. Facebook labels Seymour Hersh's reporting as false. The US social media giant has cited counterclaims by independent fact checkers from Norway and Ukraine. We're letting a social media company, a platform, just go ahead and say, oh, what he's saying is false. This dude's 80 something years old. I think he's 86 years old, born in what, 1937? He's been reporting on the US government for decades, before the internet. And we want to believe Facebook, a fucking platform full of so much bullshit. Any motherfucker can make an account. He can make 30 accounts. It's the most bullshit platform that I've ever fucking briefly been on. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I don't live my life on Facebook at all. I don't care what Facebook has to say. It's just full of horse shit. And I think the intelligent people of the world have already moved past Facebook. It jumped the shark fucking 10 years ago. But anyhow, nonetheless, they have decided that Seymour Hersh's article, now this is on April 20th. Obviously there's an update to the article, but let's start on April 20th. They're labeling his reports as false, and the social media giant said fact-checking by outlets connected with Norway and Ukraine justified its use of the label. That is so fucking comical. Let's start out with Norway. Okay, we've already discussed how Norway has a huge financial interest, had and has on those pipelines going away. Ukraine? Do you think I believe one motherfucking piece of information coming out of the Ukraine? Holy shit. Before this shit cranked off, there was more fucking scams and goddamn hacking and fucking gangster shit coming out of Ukraine. I wouldn't fucking do business with anybody in the fucking Ukraine. And now, all of a sudden, this little sawed-off fucking Napoleon wannabe walking around in his green fucking t-shirt with his little beard is the world's fucking savior. Dude, you don't impress me at all. I know, I see right through your ass. Okay, you're just trying to fucking put money in your goddamn pocket. The end of this saga was decided before anything ever happened. You and your cronies are just trying to suck as much US money into your own personal bank accounts, and then you're going to get the fuck out of Ukraine and live happily ever after. The same thing the Iraqis did, the Afghans and government did. They don't want to fucking be there. They want to steal the US fucking money and then go to London or Dubai or wherever the fuck they're going to go with a pocket full of money. They don't give a shit about what happens to the Ukraine. It's just absolutely comical to me. All right. So anyhow, this guy said there's a big debate over who blew up the Nordstream pipeline. Instead of allowing the debate, Facebook has decided to take a side. It's censoring Pulitzer-winning journalist Seymour Hersh. Oh yeah, I left that out. He won a Pulitzer Prize for journalism, right? And instead of explaining, Facebook sends readers to an article in Norwegian. And he's got a video on there. I'm not going to fucking play it. So, the fact checker is a Norwegian public broadcaster, NRK. Hersh published another bombshell report last week in which he claimed that U.S. intelligence was aware of large-scale embezzlement of American aid money by the Ukrainian leadership. Of course they are. That's why they're fucking in the game. That's why they fucking are all for this shit going down. Send us more money. Send us more fucking weapons that we're just gonna squirrel away and try to sell at a later date to somebody. They don't give a damn about fighting anybody. This is about money. This is what I've tried to explain to so many people, and most people don't listen because they don't get it. They think we're fighting for freedom. No, that motherfucker there in the green t-shirt is sucking United States tax dollars into his fucking pocket. So is the generals. So are the generals. All his fucking cronies. If you send them motherfuckers 100 artillery rounds, probably 5 make it into action. The other 95 are squirreled away somewhere till them assholes figure out how to get fucking money out of it. It's fucking money. Why do you think in Afghanistan, decades later, we're still fucking digging up and destroying and seizing weapons that we sent them back in the fucking 80s? Why didn't they get used back during that fucking conflict? Because people were squirreling it away to sell it at a later date. That's exactly what they did. They sold it back to us dumbass Americans. That's what these fuckers are doing right here. The guys at the top will siphon the cash. The guys that are getting aid in the form of weapons, munitions, all that shit, they're putting it at their fucking grandfather's barn or digging a hole and putting it in that hole because that shit is valuable and they can get money. They're going to sell it to somebody. And all they got to do in actuality is wait 20 years till the U.S. sends contractors over there and they'll just buy it back from them. It's cash money. Of course these assholes are stealing that fucking money. Before this shit, would you fucking do business with somebody in the Ukraine? It's one of the last fucking places on earth I'd try to do business. Holy shit. So, all right. So, blah, 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 blah. Russian disinformation. I'm so fucking tired of hearing that shit. What's the difference of Russian disinformation versus American disinformation? Facebook, there ain't not one motherfucking thing on that platform, I would believe. Nothing. So I'm gonna believe a fucked up social media platform that's already jumped the shark in the Western world over Seymour Hersh. Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. Man, fuck you. You know, the day that Facebook goes down and crashes and it's just over, like MySpace, I'm gonna have a big ass barbecue. I'm just gonna laugh my ass off. Okay, so Hersh compared the situation in Ukraine to what happened in Afghanistan during the 2 decades of U.S. military presence there. Reports by American inspectors exposed rampant corruption year after year, but that did not appear to affect U.S. spending on reconstruction efforts in any significant way. So let me speak clearly. Are those idiots in the Ukraine embezzling U.S. money? Yes, 100%. And I guess he wrote this article that says, this is April 12th, Zelensky and team stole at least $400 million of U.S. aid. Well, this is an article about what Seymour wrote. And he claims that corruption in the Ukraine is on par with what was seen in Afghanistan. Of course it is. Because after this shit is over and the dust settles, their country's in fucking shambles. They just want to take their pocket full of money and their families and go to London or somehow make it to the U.S. somewhere nice because they've got $100 million in their fucking pocket. They don't give a shit what's happening back in the Ukraine. It's all fucked up. They're getting their money. You know, they take it from the top. Guys below them have to take it in other ways. You know, whether it's in the form of contracts, it's in the form of, you know, NGOs and their aid, where it's going to go. They're always working an angle. They're always working an angle. You know, how many fucking deals were made in hotel rooms in Dubai from, you know, people in Iraq, people in Afghanistan. You couldn't make the money exchange there, right? Y'all had to meet in Dubai. That's what you do, right? You got to meet in Dubai, fucking meet in a hotel room. You know, if you want the contract and the contract officer it wants to play ball, you got to go pay him in Dubai whenever the contract officer goes on leave or what have you. You know, pay him the money, then everybody goes back to Iraq or Afghanistan. You get the big ass contract, and that's how shit works. I mean, bribes, if that's what you want to call it, that's how business is done. So what he's saying, he's right on the money. I ain't set foot in the fucking Ukraine. And I can tell you 100%, this is how it works. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and his senior officials are skimming American taxpayer dollars by the hundreds of millions. They embezzled at least $400 million from U.S. funds meant for diesel procurement. 100%. Listen, the fuel is the easiest way to fucking steal money from the U.S. Whether they're sending money for fuel and you just steal the money, or they actually start giving you fuel, and then instead of fueling up the fucking tanks and the government vehicles, you just take that fucking tanker truck to your brother-in-law's gas station and sell it. The fuel is so easy for them to fucking steal our money. It's not going to the front lines to go in a motherfucking tank And all these tanks that y'all are sending over there, they're just going to be fucking rusting. They're just going to rust on the side of the road. Either they're going to get taken out very quickly in combat, or they run out of fuel because these idiots steal all the money for the fuel, or B, they break down, they can't get the parts or anybody competent enough to work on them. It's just a fucking meat grinder. I said what, you know, I voiced my opinion about a year ago. Kiev has allegedly been buying diesel fuel, which is essential for the war effort, from Russia itself, and in the process skimming large sums of U.S. funds earmarked for diesel payments. It's just one of many scams. But anything around fuel, it's a scam. They're gonna steal that fucking money because it's easy. It's easy to do. An expert cited by Hirsch compared the level of corruption as to what was seen in Afghanistan. Ministries in Kiev compete to set up front firms in order to export weapons and ammunition, with the relevant officials profiting from the kickbacks. The U.S. government, meanwhile, has stated it has seen no evidence of Western-supplied weapons in Ukraine being diverted elsewhere. They don't care. The more that shit gets diverted and the more they say they want more, the more fucking weapons the military, industrial, congressional complex has to build. And you're paying for it. Your taxpayers are paying for it. Remember that movie, The Lord of War, when he's looking at the books and he's like, no, it looks like you got this many, but you need so much more. Just keep ordering more. Keep telling them you need more. That's what these idiots are doing. Has anybody in Washington, D.C. seen The Lord of War? Anyhow, all right, so 35 generals and ministers known to the CIA to be corrupt. So Ukraine, they're all fucking about money. Senior Ukrainian officials complained that Zelensky was taking a larger share of the skim money than was going to the generals, comparing the meeting to a scene from a 1950s mob movie. Ukrainian leader's response: he fired some staff and claimed the move was part of an anti-corruption strategy. There is no anti-corruption strategy. It's an anti-competition strategy. The fact that these generals complained that he was taking more than he should, he just got rid of them, cut out his competition, because he wants more for himself. It's just the way it is, right? Greed. Anti-corruption. That's anti-competition of skimming the money. Why would you want to compete with others skimming off the same till? You just get rid of them, then you can take what you want, right? Let's see. As one defense minister became involved in a scandal over purchases of overpriced food for troops. Where have we seen that shit before? He survived the purge. Anyhow, blah, blah, blah. Let's move to an update here. April 21. Facebook partially backtracks on Hirsch Nordstream warning. So Facebook modified its fact check. It's changed its position to say that it's partly false rather than false information. Facebook users attempting to share his account of the Nordstream bombings, which finds the U.S. responsible, discovered that their posts were hidden behind a semi-opaque black box with a message informing readers that the article contained false information. And Facebook directed readers to a different article in Norwegian, supposedly compiled by trustworthy fact checkers. Who the fuck are these fact checkers? Some fucking young idiots sitting in a cubicle at Facebook, or they're contractors in India? Who's the fact checkers? It ain't motherfuckers like Seymour Hirsch who knows what the fuck is going on in the world. Some skinny jean wearing kid going by a checklist while he sucks down his energy drink. So anyhow, I just think that's comical. I don't give a fuck about Facebook. I will throw a barbecue the day that that platform goes to the wayside. And it'd be a good day for me. I'll just laugh my ass off. As of Friday, the black box has been removed, and links to Hirsch's article now receive a smaller tab below informing readers this information has some factual inaccuracies and is partly false. How the fuck do you know what's false and what's not? The answer, you don't fucking know. So who's pulling the goddamn strings to put these little fucking warnings on here? Facebook has not applied similar labels to the reporting of New York Times or Washington Post, both of which cited American spies who claimed the bombings were carried out by a pro-Ukrainian group in a rented yacht. Subsequent reporting has since cast doubt on that theory, while Moscow has dismissed earlier claims that it blew up its own pipelines as stupid. This is the mind-boggling thing as well. How did we get to the point that we allow a fucking social media company so full of fucking false information as Facebook to start telling people what's false and what's not? Folks, I guess I could keep going on talking about this, and maybe I'll just go ahead and end the video and say, hey, I hope you learned something. Maybe I invoke thought about one thing in your head. If I invoke thought, then that's the purpose of anything I do, purpose of this video. So I challenge you, just do some research. Definitely don't believe what the United States government tells you. If you believe anything they fucking tell you, you're a fool. Do your own research, listen to what the people say, you know, how they say it, what context they say it in, the timing. And I think all the, at least the circumstantial evidence in this case, it adds up that the United States did it. Would this case hold up in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt? Probably not. But circumstantial evidence, yeah. The U.S. did this shit. I know just as well as Seymour Hersh did, or does, that the U.S. did it. And I knew that the minute this shit came out. I was actually... I'm going to tell this quick story, and there's two of y'all who were there. It was when I went out. I think Fatima was with me that night. And one night that Fatima went out and we got to drinking, I got tore up drunk, and I dipped into this restaurant, and they didn't follow me. And according to them, they didn't see me dip in the restaurant. So I thought they just went home and they thought I dipped on them, but it was just a lack of communication. I stepped inside. They looked up and down the street. They said they thought they couldn't find me, so they left. And I'm like, where the hell are they? I was sitting there waiting to order, you know. Anyhow, so I end up eating by myself. This one dude starts bringing it up. And it's like, dude, the fucking U.S. blew up them pipelines. And me and him start going off. And in my drunken state, I just remember this one poor gentleman sitting over there trying to eat. He was quiet. He didn't say nothing. And we're just blasting, you know, back and forth conversation. Maybe he was drinking too, I don't know. But me and him were having this conversation. And this poor old dude was just sitting over there. And man, if that was you, I apologize, because you were trying to enjoy your meal. And next thing you know, I'm fucking telling this dude, man, it's not the fucking Russians. I think that's what he said. The Russians just blew up this pipeline. I'm like, man, what are you fucking crazy? The fucking U.S. did that shit. And he said something about, I'm scared, I'm going home. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? So anyhow, I knew from day one. For me, it's just so obvious, but it's just so crazy how people will believe. They'll believe anything, and they'll believe sources that have motive to do these things or they'll believe something like Facebook over an 86-year-old dude who's been reporting for decades, based on sources within the United States government. I think I'm going to go with Seymour Hersh, but even if Seymour Hersh didn't put this out, I knew from fucking day one. Day motherfucking one. I didn't need him to report on it. And in my opinion, it's just evidence of the fact that those in charge of the United States right now are just absolutely incompetent. They're just incompetent fools. And if you're watching this, yeah, I'm talking about you. It's just a sad state of affairs that the U.S. is in right now. In these past couple years, it's just taking a fucking nosedive. Folks, that's all I have to say. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm gonna go outside and smoke me a cigar. You know, the jets flying in and out of Clark, it was quiet today. The only thing I saw and heard was a Osprey coming in and out of Clark. Well, coming in Clark Air Base. Other than that, it's been a quiet day. Appreciate y'all listening, folks. Leave your comments down below, and I love anybody that wants to offer a dissenting opinion. Dissent is the ultimate form of patriotism, and there comes a time when silence is betrayal.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nordstream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
I promise you we'll be able to do that. You also asked me earlier about the pipeline, and let me say this. It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies. We're going to work with our allies to get to the bottom of precisely what happened. And at my direction, I've already begun to help our allies enhance the protection of this critical infrastructure. And at the appropriate moment when things calm down, we're going to be sending divers down to find out exactly what happened. We don't know that yet exactly, but we're not, just don't listen to what Putin is saying. What he's saying we know is not true.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
I don't want to get our country in trouble, so I won't answer it. But I can tell you who it wasn't, was Russia. Yeah. How about when they blamed Russia? You know, they said Russia blew up their own pipeline. You got a kick out of that one, too. It wasn't Russia. So I won't answer the question only because I don't want to get our country any deeper than they already are. But it sort of all starts. We have the most incredible equipment. I rebuilt our whole military. We have things that you can do anything. We're equipped to do anything, but I refuse to say it because I want our country to be pristine. But it was, in many ways, blowing it up was very bad because it really created a lot of problems for Europe in terms of the cost of energy.
Oh, yeah.
But they shouldn't have ever been. I had that pipeline stopped, Nord Stream 2, I had it stopped, totally stopped. When Biden came in, he approved it, and they immediately started the finishing action. I had Nord Stream because I said, for Germany and Europe to get their energy from Russia, that was when I sent Angela Merkel the flag. I sent her the white flag of surrender. She said, but why do you do that? I said, you've been fighting Russia for many years. If you ever have to fight with Russia, and they control energy, you might as well just take the white flag of surrender. That's what I did. So that was blown up, and very dangerous to do it. but I think most people know who did it.
So once we start blowing up other people's critical infrastructure, is there a concern ours could get blown up in return?
Well, I think it's much more than infrastructure you're talking about. Look, we could end up in World War III over this whole thing. Forget about pipeline. We are closer. I believe it's the most dangerous period of time in history. Number one, because we have people on top that are incompetent. That's number one. And again, China's fine if you know how to deal. Russia, if you know how to deal. Russia wasn't going into Ukraine with me. China wasn't going into Taiwan with me. I mean, now all you see is, China with ships all over the place and sending airplanes and bombers. That wasn't happening with me. He knew you can't do it. And also, Russia knew you can't do it. They would have never done it. The most dangerous period of time because of weaponry, because of nuclear, because of weaponry, most dangerous period of time in the history of our country and in the history of the world right now. And we have an incompetent person at the top.